Okay. The broadcast is live, so we're live.
We are live. Hello out there, everybody in Facebook land. You are joining Cat's Home Chat live this Friday, September 11th, 2020. And before I introduce my esteemed guest, Jeff Spike Wong, I want to pay tribute and homage to September 11th. May we never forget that day. And I ran across one of my spiritual leaders, Deepak Chopra, and he was quoted saying this, and I want to share it with you today. For me and my family personally, September 11th was a reminder that life is fleeting, impermanent, and uncertain. Therefore, we must make use of every moment and nurture it with affection, tenderness, beauty, creativity, and laughter. And I just thought that was so beautiful in remembrance of all the lives lost in that tragic day, our strength as a country, and just the positivity and reminder that's poignant today in today's climate, what really is important. And that is love and spending time sharing and giving love. Absolutely. So with that, forgot to put my phone on. You can hear my puppy chewing paper underneath my desk. Jeffrey Wong, aka Jeff Spike Wong, is joining me today to talk about the power and magic of music when you're trying to sell your home or property for top dollar. We attempted this a couple of weeks ago. We were doing a project in Dallas, fabulous project, but an antiquated home and Wi-Fi was zilch. So we had to take that down, but this topic is just so important because when we buy or sell a home, it's a transfer of emotion for the buyer, and the buyer uses all of their senses, whether they realize it or not. Of course, the eyes being the visual is the most impactful, but all of the senses play. Sense of smell, you've heard me talk about that before. We'll do a whole segment on that. Certainly what we hear. You know, we, as human beings, I know myself, I can, hear a song or even hear a chord, like a riff, and it brings me back in time, creates feelings. So, Jeff, tell us just briefly in your own words, a little bit about your music background, which is very rich and very broad. Tell our viewers a little bit of your bio, if you would.
Okay. Thanks, Kat, for having me on this show.
Oh, you're welcome, my darling.
Yeah. So, like typical kids going to school, we all got into band because my cousins were in bands and so
Volume
forth.
a little higher, maybe?
No, that's about it.
Oh, okay. It's probably me. Okay.
So, with that being said, around 15 years old, I got into guitar, 14-year-old, somewhere around there. And that was in the height of the guitar craze with Eddie Van Halen. And ultimately, I got into playing and then teaching at 18. It was a fantastic opportunity to be a teacher to such great talents around Houston area. Then I went to Southern California and started working in the record industry. And through many just different paths, I ended up building guitars. I ended up working in a studio in Hollywood and doing sessions for people like Peter Tork, and ultimately,
Peter Tork, the Monkees. We're dating ourselves. Yeah, the Monkees.
This is in the early 2000s. So
right.
Then I got into selling pianos, got certified by Steinway, and it took me down to a whole new path of development, a whole new academia group that I was hanging out with. And ultimately, it got me really interested into understanding energy, frequency, tonality, and those things.
And Jeffrey, one thing that you didn't mention is you also, like myself, not as long of a career, but you had a career in new home sales as well. So you understand the buying, the home selling, beyond music, the home selling, the psychology of home selling and home buying as well.
Yeah, around the mid 2000s, where I just decided that, the music industry is not changing. It's not getting any better. Those so-called the structure of how to develop the new talents were gone. It was only owned by conglomerates and the huge companies that turn out products, which is really disappointing. This is why the music, as it goes through trends, you see that where's the quality, where's the substance? People ask about that all the time. It's about the production. It always goes from the top of who's producing this. So when I got into the piano business here, the piano business in Houston was nowhere near the robustness of what we have in California. So ultimately, I followed Kat's trend and went into new home sales when new homes were booming here. And through my decades of sales, background, they hired me at Ryland at that time. Ryland currently don't exist anymore. They sold to Cal Atlantic. But I was able to get in and studied a lot of great salespeople there.
And great training. Some of the best training at these big housing, companies in Houston.
Yes. And that's the thing, selling homes gave me a whole different perspective. I also got my realtor license. I became an independent and also worked for Keller Williams as well as Remax. And, with all that being said, it really gave me a bigger spectrum of regards to where the Living the Dream Team LLC company, which is umbrellaed over everything of real estate, from decor to design to staging to buying and selling. And that really gave me a better insight in regards to the business. And as a musician that has also been a teacher and studying into frequencies and energy and those type of things, it all came together when we had the opportunity to say, okay, how do we maximize an opportunity to affect the prospective buyer's emotional content in their
absolutely. And that's such a good point, Jeff, because sometimes we feel that what we're doing, because maybe it didn't last as long as we thought it would. The universe had other plans. But when you live as long as we do, as long as I do, and you reflect on things that have come in your life, that it's divine right order, and it's preparing you for where you should be. So I know we kind of backed into that. So Jeff is now my business partner through our Living the Dream Team LLC, which umbrellas our staging company and soon to launch a decor company. And we, are just, Jeff brings to the table so much talent that I don't know what I would do without you.
Well, I can definitely say that the career path of jack of all trades serves better than master of one, because ultimately, when you're a jack of all trades, you have to study many different aspects of it, and what you end up doing is you become master of several, and that's a huge key that they teach. I think even when we're kids, that don't be a jack of all trades and be master. Study one direction. Bad advice. I'm going to tell everybody.
No, I think you have to have a niche. I think in any business, it's important to have your branding, and we've worked really hard on that. And to have a niche, something, you're one. What do you do that's different? So try to be unique and different. But certainly for anyone out there who's a small business owner, a solopreneur, entrepreneur, you have to wear many hats. So that talent, that multi-talented aspect is just dynamite, because if not, you're delegating out and paying really a lot of different expertise. So I brag about that with my team, because I have such a talented team that are talented in so many areas. I've been very blessed and fortunate, and it just brings a robustness to what we can offer our clients to best serve them. So thanks for that little background. And of course, you're married to moi for 22 years. We keep saying 22, but it's not 22 till November. What do you have planned for me, honey? I need a trip. I need to get on a plane. Okay. So,
Pomona.
What?
Pomona.
Pomona. We used to live very close to Pomona in Southern California. So let's talk about, and just to kind of back it up a little, Cat's Home Chat Live, the format. Hey, Patrizia. Hey, Crystal. I love that I can see it on the side here with this new StreamYard.
That's great.
Yeah, I can actually see the texts. I really wanted the platform to be for really anybody who's a homeowner or who lives in a home, who's selling a home, an investor, a realtor, someone who likes to design, anyone who wants to beautify that space. And isn't that everybody wants to beautify their space? They absolutely do. Whether you're renting, owning, selling, buying. So that being said, I like to take it to even a deeper level, the psychology, because having been in sales for, 25, 30 years, there is a true psychology to selling, and there's a psychology to living and breathing. And so you will get topics on this platform that you might think, is that about the home or real estate? Well, it is. And we'll tie it in. Like last week, we had Nicole Giddens, who is a health holistic practitioner, a yoga teacher, a health practitioner. To take care of our home, we need to take care of ourselves. That's where it starts. Now, it was probably leaning a little bit more towards the female genre, but that's okay. The males watching it can share it with their female counterparts and loved ones. So look for more. The topics will be broad, and we are always looking for guests to be our guest on any topic that you feel passionate about, that you feel people would really, it would be a positive thing for you to share it with them. We're always looking for guests. So reach out to me on that. So Jeff, let's just jump right into the first topic. We've got 3, and I'm sure they'll intermingle, but that is, why should someone selling their home or having a listing, why should they play music while the house is being showed as opposed to, taking the effort to not do it? Why bother? Why do you think they should?
Yeah, playing music is basically setting the environment, setting the vibe, if you will, because it is energy. It's no different.
The vibe. Thank you. People hear that word vibe. We've heard it, it was big in the 60s, but it's been around, probably forever. I don't know the etiology of it, but, that's short for vibration. And I think what people don't stop to really realize and connect with is that thoughts. I was telling our granddaughter this the other day. She said, I can't read minds. And I said, well, you might be able to. I said, thoughts are vibration. When you think things, it creates a magnetic vibration that you can't see, just like oxygen. We breathe it, but we can't see it. And so I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that vibration thing is really, really, I think, important to create that feeling that we talk about.
It's always about feelings. Selling and buying, number one, I think principle you have to understand is when they're looking for something as a buyer, it's your job to create an environment so they can make the best assessment of, is this for me? A good salesperson prepares the landscape, if you will. So there is no, guessing work, or there is no just, I don't feel anything. Remember how many times that you want to make a decision on a purchase and you ultimately talk yourself out of it because emotionally you didn't connect. And yet there's times that you didn't even question your emotional connection. Once you felt it, you went ahead and said, how much is this?
You felt it. Yeah. You felt it. So just remember, viewers, buyers justify price with emotion. And I've said this before, and I will continue to say it. Have my real estate license. I just do by referral only, but I know folks out there who deal with a lot of buyers. How many times have you had the buyers, say, okay, these are the top things I must have. These are my must-haves. And you take them out to see the property and you've got all those things and you think they're ready to make a contract to buy it. And they're like, no, well, it's got everything that you said you wanted. I know, but I'll know it when I feel it.
Yeah.
Right. The emotion.
So
and that happens very quickly.
Let me just share a little more information on the music and how deep it actually goes.
Yes. Please.
When you do an analytical point, when you see music on computers, you see wave lines, right? Jiggly wave lines and so forth. That's the frequency that is vibrating. That's the energy that's traveling through space, through, and it hits us literally goes in us on a molecular cellular level. Most people don't think this, okay? Now, when you're, let's say, how do you even, justify that type of thinking? Well, when you have an event or a moment where you hear a song and it immediately takes you back to, let's say, a certain point of your life as a teenager, as a child, or whatever it may be, or the day you got married, what happened there? Well, that frequency in that combination triggered a memory in your DNA, believe it or not.
Wow.
And then it releases that information in your thought. Okay. And then your consciousness then grabs it and go, oh, yes, I remember this moment. And all this is from the frequency activating you. So this is extremely important when you're thinking about this, because, if it's that powerful, how many things are going on that affects us on auditory point of view, And when you look at this, the whole scheme of things, it's no different. If you took assessment, the kid who is violent and yet he's listening to violent music, do you think there's a parlay to it? Yes, of course. It's all interconnected. This is why it's extremely important to say you want to be a successful in the sense of selling your house, your home to someone. You want them to come in and feel connected. So that music aspect of it becomes a huge part, because are they going to connect looking at the wall with your picture of your family? No, of course not. You need to depersonalize, right? We always talk about that.
Yes, absolutely. So we're assuming here that we've already done the 3 C's, which was on Kat's Tuesday tips. If you didn't catch that, that's, declutter, add color, and clean, have it super clean. And notwithstanding that it's priced right. And that's the good realtors, that's the realtor's job there to make sure it's priced right. So now how do we, and what we're striving for here is not just to sell, but is to sell for top dollar in the quickest amount of time as possible. And, it's a daunting thing to sell your home while you're living in it. What with homeschooling and working from home and kids and pets and all of that, it's a challenge. So you certainly want to set yourself up so that it can happen as quickly as possible. And if you do the things that we share with you, you will, have a leg up on that happening as quickly as possible. And folks not just thinking it's a distressed property, you sold it as is. Oh, things are selling quick. I don't need to declutter. I don't need to paint. I don't need to put music. I don't need to have it smell good. That's cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. You're just throwing equity away is what is happening. Jeff, share with us what is the best type of music to play?
That's a great question, and this is something that I've researched on the internet and kind of looked at different point of views. And one of the things that I want to talk about in regards to selecting the quality of music or the type of music, those type of things. I would never put pop music on, because that is personalizing, just like having photos, just like having personalization on your house when you're trying to sell it. Not everybody's going to come walking in and go, oh, Shakira, I like that. You know, it's
So
just not.
that's surprising. Some people may think, whatever the latest tunes or pop tunes, people will like, but that's a really good point. Number one, when we stage, we always take into consideration the demographics, the psychographics. And what is that? Well, it's what do we think, is going to be the age of the buyer? What kind of, are they in the med center? Are they engineers? Are they blue collar workers? That kind of thing. So, we take that into consideration with the furnishings and decor to speak to them and get that transfer of emotion. But yeah, I never thought of the pop music, because you do hear that when you oftentimes do hear.
Yeah,
when people
you don't
try
ever want to put on, let's say, a radio station. Okay, because you can't control what they're programming, and
right.
you don't want somebody walking in and go, "Oh, I hate that song." Where's the emotion connection there?
Or it was connected to a breakup, a bad breakup, or exactly. A divorce. Exactly. That memory DNA connection, right?
Right. So this is where you got to be really selective and understand the power of music, what it actually does, and how it does it to each individual, including yourself. One of the things I always recommend is that if you're going to play music, play it below audio level of enjoyment as if you were listening with attentiveness, active listening. You don't want it that loud. You're not enjoying the record. That is not your job here. You want this to have a feel, no different than if you walk in and you have something that seems to be very elegant in that room. That music should promote the elegant emotion without being heard. Now, how can you do that? Well, you put it around, a low volume, maybe where you listen to music at 30 on your attenuator or your volume knob. You bring it down to 1/3 of that to 1/4 of that.
Okay. So it's just background music.
Right.
Yeah.
But now you can select something that is going to bring awareness in that soothingness, that elegance. You can do Mozart. You can do Bach. You can do Vivaldi. These are the type of music that is written in a certain key that has a certain melody, that has a certain flow, that has been in the so-called consciousness culture for 300 years easy, especially with some of the stuff that they replay over and over in movies. And they do it for scenes that seems to be very free, caring and loving and those type of things. So you want to be aware of the positiveness of it. The other aspect of it is the note selection. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do is a C major scale. It's extremely positive. Major scale makes you happy. Major scale uplifts your energy. Blue scales or minor scales do not. They're emotional.
So no minor scales, no radical jazz stations, things like that.
Yeah, radical jazz. As much as I like Coltrane, I wouldn't put Coltrane on an open house because next, he's playing this avant-garde piece of work, and everybody's going to feel frazzled and not understand why they can't concentrate because these notes are coming a million miles a minute, and they're using tone, octatones, whatever the combinations they're using at that point is creating an attraction, a magnetism. Even at a low volume, when somebody's playing that level of virtuosity, it's drawing your attention. You don't want that.
To that. And it's not making you relax. And what we want when people come in, it's no different. We talked about water, in some of our segments, Tuesday tip segments, that water slows down the chi. It slows down the energy, and all of these things are energy. And when people walk in the threshold, we want them to take more time. The average, I believe, showing time is something like less than 2 minutes in an average home. You want them in there longer than that. They're not going to make a decision or create interest in 2 minutes. If you look at your Supra and it's timed out at less than 2 minutes, they kind of went in and went out. So we want to keep them in there as long as possible so that there is a transfer of emotion, and they can
Yeah.
have time. And what you're saying is music is going to assist that with classical and some of these composers that you mentioned.
Yeah, I always recommend classical for the fact that it's there's no lyrics, no vocal melody, no singing. You know, I think that really works. Something really nice, swing, jazz could work. You want stuff that's calming. Okay, you can put on YouTube and find calming music, 432 hertz. That's going to bring a vibration at a certain frequency that's going to calm everybody.
And what was that hertz, Jeff?
432 hertz.
432 hertz.
Yeah.
That's the frequency.
That is the concert pitch A, 432 hertz frequency that you tune your instrument to and your overall composition sits on. You know, and this has been changed, of course, since 1955 to 440. However, do you understand 432 is the accurate hertz that vibrate harmoniously with human on a cellular level? The 440 does not. Okay. And that's why it's easy to do pop music and all that. And everything just becomes a big cluster, and everything becomes basically what it feels disjoint, and it's funny, as musicians, you always get this generational thing where the previous generation goes, oh, your music sucks, my music is better. You listen to the days of Glenn Miller, and then it moved on. Oh, your music sucks, my music is better. The Beatles, the Stones. Oh, and then the next decade, oh, your music sucked, our music's so much better with Led Zeppelin and Genesis. Then the next decade goes up. Oh, your music sucked. Our music is so much better with Van Halen, John Bon Jovi. You see what I mean? And the fact is that everybody has a certain niche that they imprinted in their mind.
And those are musicians and young people. But I think classical, which is, I'm sure, why you're really encouraging that, is just it's universal and timeless. It's timeless.
Yeah, let's give you an example of that exact thing. When George Lucas was producing the first Star Wars in the mid 70s, we're talking about 75 before it came out, he definitely ventured out to get John Williams to score and conduct the London Symphony to do the Star Wars theme. His mindset behind it is, I want something that is timeless, that it's going to transcend. So when you watch it, you won't feel dated. Now, if you go back to the late 70s, after Star Wars came out, Battlestar Galactica, whatever, everything started to come in to jump on that bandwagon. However, nobody had the budget to go to London Symphony or hire John Williams. So they get the next best thing, whoever's involved for the budget. And there was several things, including Battlestar Galactica, which turned into a TV show that you would hear instrumentation of synthesizers and so forth. And when you watch it today, it is extremely dated sounding soundtrack. When you watch Star Wars, however, you can watch any version at any part of the story. It could be 20 years apart. They seamlessly fit together.
And why do you think is there an actual technical
George Lucas
use of notes?
George Lucas knew that genre of music was not going to date his movie. And he also knew that he could take that energy and move it as the story grew. And the John Williams is notable for, of course, Jaws soundtrack, Superman soundtrack. So the soundtrack itself gives you the attachment that is above than just the visual of the movie itself. When you look at from that perspective, 2001 Space Odyssey, anytime you hear the beginning of the horns on that soundtrack, you're going to go 2001 Space Odyssey.
Oh, you recognize it. But let's make it clear in terms of selling your home. We would not put a movie soundtrack on.
No, but you know what? You can, because the thing is, if you realize Star Wars or Superman or whatever it may be, it's an identifiable melody in the main theme track. Now, if you have a Superman soundtrack, you actually can play it in after the original Superman theme until you get to Can You Read My Mind? You would never known it was a Superman.
I'm just saying I would encourage not something like Jaws or Space Odyssey, because it's identifiable, and you do not want them connecting
Right.
to that. So I'm gonna bring up a couple of, and feel free to chime in, Jeff. From I know you worked in new home sales, but of course they have the piped in music. We always had the piped in music. We could control the volume.
Yep.
But some tips, some practical tips I'd like to share with our viewers. I literally had a lady not too long ago. It was an occupied consultation, what we call mixed media. So my team and I went in there. First, we did a consultation, told her what to get rid of, what to add. And then we brought in power pieces and staged it. Of course, it's sold in record time while everything else was sitting on the market. This was in the falls here in spring. But she was I just love it when clients are so on board doing everything that you recommend to them, because we always tell them you can do as little or as much as you're comfortable with. The more you do, the better chance and a leg up you have for selling faster and for more money. But it's up to you, your time, your budget, your sweat equity. So I told her about the music. Now, I have had clients in the past have an iPad similar to what we have with the 432 hertz that we listen to at night, and put it on a station like maybe Pandora, and put it on a classical Pandora station with no commercials and have that running low. So I've had that in the past. This gal went out, she'd never even heard of Alexa, and we love Alexa, don't we, Jeff?
Yes, we do.
She now does our lights. She sets timers, everything. We're so automated. But she went out and bought an Alexa. They're not terribly expensive. You can start getting hubs and everything like we have, satellites for every rooms. But she bought an Alexa, so she did everything. Had the smell going on that we recommended. She had the music in the background, and of course it was staged. And I just love it when clients, do everything that you suggest to them, because, it's really to their favor. And you think that $80 or $100 she spent, what did it save her in paying another mortgage payment because she was moving to another house and so forth. So that's one thing. You can have Alexa. Back in the day, I've been doing this so long. Back in the day, I was taught, we'll put, and we would put like a little radio in the key rooms. Well, we had no control because there was no Pandora then. And so it was just, you put it on kind of a classical station and hope it wasn't doing commercials when people went through. That was the best way. But with technology now, it's fabulous. So Alexa is perfect. If you have we have an antiquated iPad, and that's the one we keep under our bed, and play that at night. So, an older device will work, just put it out of the way in the main area or what have you. Anything else?
Let me just bring that up. That's one of the biggest thing about the importance of having music too, is that you want to demonstrate the technology in your house. A lot of people that are not, being aware that if you had a home theater, surround sound, or speakers in every room with the Sonos, music bank and all those type of technologies, you need to have it on to show the value.
Yes. Yes, like the 5.1 and the speakers. And, many homes, when I was in the builder world, they just started doing that as standard. It wasn't an option anymore to put the 5.1 speakers. But again, people don't know what you don't tell them.
Right. Well, so, one of the things that's the thing that I mentioned last time was that you want to show, of course, your one sheet, right, of all the technology. Then you got to demo it. You got to turn it on. Okay. You don't have to show them how to use it, but they have to hear it.
Sure.
Yeah. That's to me one of the key factors that is sorely missed by agents that do a listing, and then they go in there. They may turn on the lights. That's it. You walk into a room. If it's not professionally staged, it's home staged. It's a hit and miss. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Well,
right?
Jeffrey, you remember one of the first homes that we sold together back in Southern California. And this was before I was a professional stager, but of course it's in my bones. So, we had a jacuzzi. Was that the one? We had a jacuzzi, we had a pool, et cetera, and so forth. Jeff knew we had a routine down. We'd call it model home ready. And this is before I worked in a model home. It's model home ready. It's showtime. So we'd have an hour to get ready. The jacuzzi would go on, the stereo, I say the 5.1 surround sound would go on. If it was cool weather, the gas fireplace would go on. We literally set the stage, not just with the furnishings and decor, but with that, because buying a home is a transfer of emotion, and you're selling a lifestyle. So by making sure those little details, the fireplace, the jacuzzi, the surround sound is on, you are selling that lifestyle. And that's the impression, those impressions that happen within seconds that people feel. They can't really put their hands on it. They're just like, oh my gosh, I can see myself living here. I can see myself in the jacuzzi and sitting by the fire and listening to the music. I mean, isn't that what it's all about? It's all about enjoyment.
From Taught by Cat, in the philosophy of Taught by Cat has always been that it has to have a wow factor. And you talk about that.
In fact, we call our package the wow package. Yeah.
Yeah. Within the first 3 to 5 seconds, go, wow. If you didn't do that, then you didn't set the table. Setting the table is the ultimate key to success.
Setting the stage, honey. Setting the stage. We don't set a lot of tables. Well, we're not a big table setter at Tada.
Like the meet and greet when you're on a showroom floor for high-end instruments. Somebody's going to spend $70,000 on a grand piano. You better make a great impression. You better give them a wow factor within the first 5 seconds.
Yep. And you were very good at that.
Yeah. In the same thing with a $300,000, $500,000 home. Not everybody's going to go walk into $1 million home and go, okay. No, $1 million home is going to look wild on its own because it's $1 million home.
Yep.
But your $300,000 home could look like a $100,000 home if you don't prepare right. That's huge. But your $300,000 home could look like a $5,000 home and feel like $1 million home if you do everything right.
Absolutely.
And that includes, all your sensory perceptions. Music is just one part of this, but music, because the diversity of how deep music really affects all of us, this is where you have to put some thought to it. You have to put some in regards to execution. If you go into a home that you're listing and they have no technology, don't put a clock radio in there because it's going to sound like a Mickey Mouse. You don't want to not like that. A clock radio on a CD is not going to work if you really want to get something going. There's different things like Kat talked about. Somebody got an Alexa. Yeah, it needs Wi-Fi. That's true. But there's
right. So these are for occupied. Obviously, in our vacant, we don't have Wi-Fi, so we cannot exercise that element of it. But they are so wowed by
but you can get a shelf speaker system. You know what I mean? Get a shelf system, stage your home, put the shelf system in the main area, spread that speaker system wide so it covers room. That's one of the things I've definitely learned in the studio in Hollywood. When you're doing records and you're making music and recording it on that level, you want to use your speakers and spread the energy and the impression out.
Sure.
And that's one of the things that when you're if you got a little clock radio and the speaker's a 2-inch speaker like this, it's not going to
that's definitely not going to work. And I'm a big proponent of Alexa. I don't think people are going to turn music on an Alexa or an iPad. You can easily tuck it away. My clients have just, tucked it away in an armoire or what have you and had it running on a classical station, and it works fabulous. Yeah, works really fabulous.
Here, I'll give you a trick. Here's a tip. Whenever there is no speaker systems you can open up a drawer, take your phone or your devices where the speaker's on the bottom, right? Set it in an angle in a drawer, leave the drawer about like maybe a quarter to a third open. That would act as a reflex of the energy, just like a bass enclosure, and it will give you fuller music sound than just leaving your phone on the counter.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And then, of course, we have those, I've given them away as gift, those little, I'm going to call them mini boom boxes.
Yeah.
Bluetooth and so, speakers. Yes, little mini speakers. Yeah, I keep saying I'm going to bring one to the warehouse for Crystal. I'm going to do that, Crystal. But when we're staging, we'll hook that up to our iPad or our iPhone, and you have a speaker, effect. And certainly you can do that too with technology, with iPads and cell phones. You may not want to maybe leave your cell phone when you're having a showing for an occupied, but you've got an antiquated iPad. When I do open houses in the past, I've used that also, put Pandora on my iPad because, I want music. Coming from new home sales, there was always, it would be very still and kind of, still with no music.
That's right.
In a model home to greet people when they walk in. And of course, that's what we strive for at Ta-Da by Cat, is every home, whether it's an investor flip or multi-million, to look like a model home. That's, that's what we've curated for, no matter the level. So I'm not sure if, do you want to open up for questions, Jeff? I'm not sure. Most people watch this on, looks like we got 5 or 6 eyeballs. Does anybody have any questions for me or for Jeff? We can see them on the side here and answer them real time. Or on the flip side, also, if you're watching this afterwards, post questions, because I go back and monitor it and we'll answer every question. So we're going to wait for some questions. In the meantime, I want to announce Starbucks cards. Okay, we had an initiative going. We're super excited to be more than halfway towards our 100 subscribers to our YouTube channel, Ta-Da by Cat, TADABYKAT. And if you have not subscribed, please do, and hit the bell so you get reminded. But we're going to continue another probably 2 weeks with an incentive where, yes, we are paying you to subscribe, a $5 Starbucks card. And if you don't drink coffee, that's okay. They have tea, they have goodies, they have all kinds of stuff. I'm going to get back into that in a minute, but I want to read the people that we will be sending. Amazon said they delivered our cards. We've got to track them down because we don't see them on our porch. But they will be going out shortly. And I'm going to read off the people that emailed me with their address so I can mail them their Starbucks card. Marisol. I can't pronounce your last name, Miss Marisol. You know who you are. Rusty Fox. Thank you, Rusty. Carrie Summers. Thank you, Carrie. Braden Deckard. Thank you, Braden. Dawn Dowden. Hey, Dawn. Martina Boger. Thank you, Martina. Jana Marks. Hey, Jana. Stephen Masali. I can't even pronounce your last name, dude. Sam Malone. Fabia Hill. Hey, Fabia. And Martina. Oh, Martina Boger, I got twice. I think that's it. So all of you will be receiving a $5 gift card. I will go to, from Starbucks, I will go to my email and pull those addresses. If you subscribed in the last 10 days or so and you did not email me with your address, please do, so that I can send you a Starbucks card. And we're going to do it, until the budget runs out, until we hit our 100, because once we hit 100, we get our own URL with YouTube. Woohoo! Exciting, right? That's let's see. That will be a super golden thumbs up. So we're excited for you all to be a part of that. And so please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And again, if you have in the last 10 days and you weren't on the list and you're listening to this, just shoot me an email with your address and I'll make sure that I get you a card. With that, I don't see any questions. What do you remember? Oh, okay. I don't see any questions right here. Did you have anything else, Jeff, that you wanted to share with everybody?
In regards to the same topic, still selling music?
Hey, this is our forum. If there's something else that sprung board your gray matter there and you want to share, please do.
Music is extremely important in all of our lives. I'm just going to share this little tidbit that you may not know. UC Irvine did a study back in the late 90s, early 2000s, that if you start your children in music lessons, like piano lessons especially, at an early age, they will test 25% or more higher in fields of mathematics and science. And
Wow.
this is an extensive study that was done in, I'm going to say this, that nobody at a certain age is saying, or regards to, well, you have to be at a certain age to be a good musician, or you have to be a certain size, right, to play certain music. I personally have witnessed someone under 4 years old playing classical piano as if she was been playing for 20 years, and this is under
That's called a
4 years.
prodigy. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, she's only been taking lessons for 4 months.
Wow.
So you never know what the child has within themselves when you introduce music and how they adapt to it. Some kids don't get it. Some kids do. But the key factor is music plays in our lives because the entire existence, the physicality, the physics and the science behind everything of matter is frequency. It's energy. And so if you understand that principle, or if you don't, this is brand new information to you, I definitely highly recommend start to read about frequency and energy and how you can enhance your daily lives. Kat and I have 432 hertz frequency piping into the bedroom behind the headboard, and it sends this frequency 8 hours during sleep. And it is molecularly reconstructing and healing us at a cellular level. Now, as crazy as that may seem, sound therapy and sound in health has been around for thousands of years.
Thousands, yes.
Thousands, you're right.
Yep.
So even now, there's independent clinics that is doing sound therapy for everything from psychiatric helps to better your so-called balance of the chakras to your physical self. These are all things that can contribute to you if you just understood it. How big a difference it makes is how much you bring it to your life. I do meditations all the time with 528, 432, different frequency hertzes, and it gives me a opportunity to centralize and kind of center myself, to still yourself.
And you know what, Jeff, that's a whole nother topic. I periodically get videos from the director of TM, Transcendental Meditation, out of Houston. I should share with you a video that he shared with me. The physiological change in meditation, and I've got to get better at doing it every morning. I try to do it every morning. Sometimes it's every other morning, but it literally connects the frontal and back lobes of the brain, connects them in a positive way, and engages them and increases brain power. It's amazing, to where you make better judgment, you make better decisions, you have less brain fog. It's just like a brain boost. And that's a physiological, physical manifestation of meditating. Yeah.
And the frequency aspect of it is so misunderstood, I think, because it's not being taught in school. You really have to
because we can't see it. And
one of the things that you have to look at too is that there was that study from Dr. Emoto on water crystals. Remember?
Yes.
And one of the things is that if you play
messages from water.
Get it closer. Yeah. Can you show the people a little bit closer? Yeah, so they can see. There you go.
Messages from water and the universe.
The frequency actually harmonizes, and you can see the water crystals under a microscope, how they behave, whether they're in a fractal, that's perfection of uniqueness, or they're broken in pieces and not uniform because due to disharmonization of the frequency. And they did various tests. They did it with classical music. They did it with heavy metal music. And in the book, they show you under electronic microscope, when you play heavy metal music to water crystals, they become disjointed. They become dysfunctional and broken looking. Where when you're playing Vivaldi or classical like Bach, which is harmony, they were perfectly very similar to fractals like you see in snowflakes, and they're unique. Now, you have to understand that in our human body, we have so much water in our body.
Over 70%, isn't it?
At least that. I've read over 70.
And so it's the earth, for that matter. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, water is quintessential for life. All scientists would tell you, if they discovered water in a planet, or they discover water on any kind of thing in space, they're counting on life. Because if there's water, there's life. Water itself, if you study it, it's life itself. That's why we're predominantly water. So with that understanding now in the frequency of how it could change you on a cellular level, now start to think, okay, if I'm putting the investment as a selling agent to my home, or am I a home owner that I'm selling my house? I got it fresh paint. I got new countertop. I've got, everything ready to go to put my house on the market. And then you don't put the right music on, people don't feel it, then you're going to start questioning yourself. Well, what else? What is wrong with my house? And 9 out of 10 people will say, oh, location, because they're not understanding there's other factors into it.
Sure.
When the fact is, maybe it's not location at all. Maybe you shouldn't be playing blues music where everybody is, woe is me. Oh, I don't feel good. Yeah, we're in Texas. I get it. Stevie Ray Vaughan is, an icon. I get all that too. But blues music is flatted 5, tritones, sad. Just give you a music history. Tritone flatted 5 was banned by the church 1,000 years ago for being the devil note. They wanted to create the so-called the naughtiness in humankind. Now, is that true? Yeah, I guess it can be, because flatted 5 is in all the rock music.
Well, it's dark. Yeah, it's dark.
Yeah, so there's no tricks.
And it's why I feel like this with heavy metal.
Yeah. Heavy metal music, it's such a fine line, heavy metal music. When it's done right, it's borderline of being symphonically classical. I know when I was
I think, yeah.
Ingve's definitely that. But I remember one time I took a MIDI file of Metallica Master of Puppets, and I converted it into a piano disc player. Piano disc player is a little disc that you can pop in the grand piano play itself. And I remember I go watch this, and for a week I demoed grand pianos with Master of Puppets. And, not one person said to me, oh, that's terrible. What are you playing? Everybody went, wow, listen to that. Because
but did you change, anytime you change, did you change the beats per minute?
Nope, didn't change a thing.
Really?
But what it was performed on a grand piano.
Well, there you have it.
Not, a distorted, aggressive, heavy metal guitar was screaming over it.
Well, there you have it. It's the vehicle in which it was played on, ivory keys, or electronic distortion. Yeah, right. Absolutely.
So that itself gives you an idea. If you're going to do music for open houses and so forth, solo piano is a great way to go. Solo piano is very elegant. When it's played well, it is like nothing else on the planet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm still waiting for my lessons, honey. Oh, darn. We gave away the piano. We donated the piano to a family, but we've got my chord keyboard when you're up to give me some lessons. But stay tuned, because my husband is going to learn, because it's going to take me too long to learn it on the ukulele, the song, You've Got to Accentuate the Positive. That's going to be our theme song. Maybe it'll be for Cat's Home Chat. I don't know. Maybe it's just Cat's Tuesday Tips, maybe both. But it's a song that I've wanted to play. And it's actually, kind of the theme, really, of my sign off for this show. And unless you have anything more to share, I'm going to sign off, Jeff. I so appreciate all of the information that you have shared. And I think folks and viewers are going to get really, or have gotten a really good sense of what to play, what not to play, and the reasons behind why they should consider, if they're, selling their home and living in their home, how to create that other sense to up their chances of people staying longer, which means they're, envisioning themselves in the lifestyle that you're presenting with, just the right note.
Yeah.
And yeah. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. And thank you everyone for watching this. Most of you will be watching it on the flip side, and that's cool. You can take your time and watch it whenever. And until I see you next week, stay positive, stay hopeful, and stay connected with us. We also do a Tuesday Tips every Tuesday. And do me a favor and go out today. It's a Fab Friday. Make it a Fab Friday. Make it a wonderful weekend and pay it forward with positivity. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend. Thanks, Jeff. Bye. Oh, I keep forgetting it's not